Hi there, in this video I'll be unboxing and reviewing the GMKtec NucBox G5, which could be one of the world's smallest desktop PCs. It's at least the smallest desktop PC I've ever used, with a fairly low cost and low power consumption. As always, if you like the video, please tap the like button and consider subscribing. First up, let's see what we get in the box. Starting with a quick look at the box, it's about the same size as a mobile phone box if it were a large phone with a power adapter. Remember those days when you used to get a power adapter with your phone? Anyway, opening it up, there are two sections. I'll start with the top section, which has the power adapter in. It has a USB-C connector and supplies 12 volts at up to 3 amps. Then there's a warranty card. I'll just throw that to one side. In the second section, there is a sleeve which has a setup guide in it. That can join the warranty card over there, and the sleeve can join them as well. Finally, there's the PC. This thing is very small for a PC, I'll say that much. Just to give you an idea of how small it is, here it is next to a AA battery. Having a look around the PC, there are two USB-A 3.2 ports, along with the power button on the front, nothing on the left, a micro SD card slot and a Kensington lock on the right, and on the back we have a USB-C port for power, that doesn't do anything else, a combo microphone and headphone jack, two HDMI ports that support up to 4K resolution, a USB 3.2 port, and finally a 1GB Ethernet port under the warning label. And that's all there is in the box. Now let's take a look at the overall specs of it. To begin with, the NucBox G5 uses the Intel 12th Gen Alder Lake N97 CPU, which has 4 cores and 4 threads up to 3.6 GHz, has 12GB of DDR5 memory, 256GB M.2 SSD, it's a SATA based 2242 sized SSD, and it's TWSC branded. It uses Intel UHD integrated graphics. Wi-Fi wise, it uses Wi-Fi 5 or 802.11ac Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 4.2, both of which are on a Realtek card. We've gone over all the ports, but I'll just mention that the Gigabit Ethernet adapter is based on a Realtek chipset. And lastly, it comes with Windows 11 Pro. As far as upgrading the internals of the PC are concerned, the only parts that can be swapped out are the SSD and the Wi-Fi module. Both the CPU and memory are soldered onto the motherboard. To get inside it, just flip it over to the bottom, undo the 4 screws underneath them, and then take the cover off. The SSD is the first thing you'll see. To take that out, just remove the screw and take it out. Here's a close-up of the SSD. This one is a TWSC branded 256GB M.2 SATA drive rather than an NVMe based SSD. To get to the Wi-Fi module, these 4 posts need to be removed, followed by the metal cover. Once that's out of the way, it's simply a case of removing the 2 antenna cables and unscrewing the 1 screw. This could be upgraded, but you'll need to check the antenna cables will fit whichever card you might be looking to use. I'm not going to take the rest of it apart, but putting it back together is as simple as reversing what I just did. With that covered, let's move on to some benchmarks, starting with CPU-Z. I tested the PC against all the power profiles available in the BIOS 5 times and then averaged the results for each. Of the tests that were run, I would use the stress test, as the multi-core test only took around 20 to 25 seconds to run each time, so it doesn't really represent what would happen with an ongoing running task. Given the results shown, the sweet spot for the PC in my opinion is the 12W power profile, which is the default out of the box. The 15W profile didn't perform any different overall versus the 12W profile, but used more power. The only reason to use the 8W profile would be to save power, but at nearly 2 watts difference, is it really worth changing to it? Moving on to testing the SSD's performance, I used CrystalDiskMark, which I run on each power profile. The results were fairly consistent on each power profile, so there was not much impact from the power profile being set. As this is a SATA based SSD, the results were pretty typical at around 560 megabytes per second read and around 415 megabytes per second writes for the sequential tests. The only really noticeable impact was on the random test, where the 12W profile was a little bit higher on the Q32T1 test for reads, but the rest were around the same. Overall, I'd still go with the 12W profile. Next, let's see if this thing can run some games. First up, I tried Escape from Duckov. It's a relatively recent game and it actually did alright. I had it set to 1080p with everything set to either low or off. Going through the game, it managed around 30 FPS typically, with some drops in places. I did at one point go out into the storm and the frame rate dropped to around 2 to 3 FPS, so I'd say it will struggle a bit with this game in places, but overall it was playable. In terms of power draw, it was using between 20 and 22 watts. Next up, Vampire Survivor. This game is much lighter than Escape from Duckov in terms of its graphics, and that shows. For the majority of the game, the frame rate was around 60 FPS, but towards the end of a stage, which is typically the 28 to 30 minute mark, the frame rate will drop to around 20 to 30 FPS, mostly due to the number of enemies being spawned in. Also, the more you move at this point, the more it will impact the frame rate, but overall, this was playable on this PC. Now, will it play a game like Arc Raiders? I doubt it. These two games were pretty light in comparison to a game like Arc Raiders or even Fortnite. If you want to play something like Vampire Survivor, or emulated games on say a Super Nintendo or a Sega Mega Drive or Sega Genesis, you should be okay. Now, let's look at the recorded power consumption. When idling at the Windows desktop, the power draw was typically between 6 and 7 watts no matter which power profile was used. CPU-Z was between 16 and 19 watts, and gaming was between 14 and 21 watts, depending on the game. Overall, it's not a bad little box in terms of power consumption. Finally, here's an example of the noise level, which I recorded when doing the CPU-Z stress test using the 15 watt power profile. The microphone was right next to the PC. With the PC being right next to me, I can hear it a little bit when the fan is running heavily, but under a light load such as web browsing, it's not audible. If the PC was further away, say under a monitor or even mounted on the back of a monitor, you would struggle to hear it. Okay, so who would I recommend this PC for? If you're looking to game on it, I would not go with this system unless your games are very basic and don't require much in the way of graphics hardware. In my opinion, this PC will be best suited for someone who's looking for a PC to handle basic web browsing, a bit of light photo editing, and working with simple spreadsheets, documents and emails. I wouldn't recommend this for heavy video editing, but if you've got a bit of light video editing that you want to do, then it could probably cope with it, but to be honest, I wouldn't put too much of a load on this machine. So I hope that review was useful for you. I do plan on using this PC later on to test out some Linux distributions, most notably Ubuntu 26.04 when it's released later on this year, so please hit the like, subscribe and notification buttons to know when that video is released. Until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.